Smoothie is one of the best supports in NA for sure. He has a lot of playmaking ability and he's very consistent. I think that's important in a player. There's not like too many bad performances out of him, and he usually performs well in lane. So I think that consistency is important in a team because you need like a solid foundation for a team to work off of. I think C9 in general, in the other roles, they don't have people that, you know, really step up. And because of that void, and Smoothie is more like active, he can take up on that role. And I think it's important for him to take up that role because no one else on the team can do it.
Welcome back to the North American LCS. The teams are readying up on stage for round 2 between TSM and Cloud9. And the big change we got to talk about, Ray is in, Impact is out for Cloud9 in Game 2.
Yeah, and maybe it could be about getting a little bit more playmaking, although I generally agree with what Biofrost said. Last game was a bit of a different story because Contracts was making so many of the plays. And as the analyst desk mentioned with this Ray sub in, I think it is a little bit peculiar because Impact had probably his best game of the split so far. And Cloud9 had actually just released a video today as a status update where Reaper was talking about the team and said Ray had been taking some time off for some medical issues. So I'm actually quite surprised to see him in this game.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing, but maybe they've got a secret plan up their sleeves. And going back to what you just mentioned, talking about Contracts, because this was actually what I was bringing up last game as the big fight exploded and it cut me off. So I want to go back to that because I think it was really cool. We were talking about Svenskeren, his unstoppable Lee Sin and the 9-1 record, and how we were like, they let it pass. But they let it pass because Contracts said, don't worry, I can beat him, I can contain him, I can outplay him with the Elise, and he did.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the stats book, it's going to be now 10-1 on Lee Sin for Svenskeren. But I agree the Contracts outperformed him that game. There were a few plays that Svenskeren made, but there were many more that Contracts did. So I think they did get a lot of value out of the first pick Elise, and they definitely got a lot of value out of the second phase Renekton early pick that they picked essentially blind because they were waiting on the top lane counter pick from TSM. Not too many huge complaints about C9 in that last game. Mainly, it was Sneaky getting hit by Shockwave after Shockwave in some of those team fights, and also just Bjergsen's performance in general that tipped it over the top.
Exactly. Sneaky wasn't really stepping up or having a noticeable performance in the game at all. Bjergsen was, but the top lane and the jungle for Cloud9 were actually doing really, really well for themselves. In a team where we always talk about the mid lane this split, it seems like that's our constant story. Jensen's the one who's carrying. Jensen's the one who is performing. But it was top and jungle. It was Impact and Contracts that really had the best performances.
Yeah, I agree. And even though Jensen ended up getting a fair number of kills, most of those were set up by others. That is something that happens when you are playing Victor. Victor's not a champion that necessarily sets up for himself. So in that sense, it's a slightly atypical composition for Cloud9 lately. Just for an update, Ray is still getting fully checklisted to get into this game. So we're going to be about 2 more minutes from champ select to C9 kind of build up whatever their counter strategy is going to be against TSM. But like we're saying, I didn't see much wrong with the way C9 approached that game. The biggest issue for them was that they lost pressure in mid lane, they lost pressure in bottom lane, they essentially lost both of those turrets without much jungler interaction from Svenskeren, so they just have to perform better in those 2 areas.
They also need to be more aware of exactly what their opponents can do with what they've acquired for themselves so far. TSM taking that Baron for free at 22 minutes was really, really harmful for the overall Cloud9 game plan. It accelerated the game to the point where they couldn't really catch up.
Yeah, I agree with that. You can also call out Cloud9's macro for not necessarily being that on point this game. Although, if you're going to do that, then how do you credit all of the picks that Elise gets? Because you just don't create picks out of nothing with Elise. You have to have vision control and people in position in order to make those plays, which I think is pretty interesting. It was mainly just that one lapse in judgment when there's a double Mountain Drake up for the other side, and it really seemed to, as you say, catch Cloud9 off guard.
And that's the problem, though. When you have 2 of these teams that are consistently at the top and consistently always butting heads with each other. I mean, we mentioned how the overall record was 28-30 going into this between Cloud9 and TSM, almost dead even in 60 games.
Yeah, and if TSM 2-0s this, it moves to 30-30 because it wasn't too long ago that C9 was dominating this matchup. I mean, back in the high days, along with Sneaky when C9 was just in there, and the first few banners that you can see on the Raptors here in the North American LCS. We don't see them from our angle because the screen blocks it. All we get to see is TSM and COG, but they do exist, right? Cloud9 used to be absolutely dominant, and they really want to start getting that back, and it could start here if they don't want to even that all-time record between the two teams.
Well, Cloud9's going to have to step up in this game, or TSM's going to find their 2-0 going into picks and bans. Cloud9 taking some of those effective tanks off of the table with Zac and Galio banned out, while TSM focuses solo lanes with LeBlanc, Kinnan, and Syndra. Caitlyn, the last ban from C9.
Yeah, so multiple mid lane bans here by TSM, not wanting to blind pick either of those. And wow, that's an incredibly early Jhin by TSM, almost reminding me back to the Lucian days for TSM, where Doublelift just had a pick that he wanted to play. Right now, it's Jhin.
And, you know, seeing Doublelift back on TSM, this is a guy that they can count on to carry. This is a guy that they're happy giving him the picks that he wants to play, and Jhin apparently is that pick.
And Orianna for Jensen.
He's saying, you're not taking this away from me again.
Very rare that you see a mid lane locked in that early in the draft phase, but this is seeing LeBlanc and the Syndra are off the table, and Jensen is saying, there are no bad matchups for this pick. I am getting it right now, and he does it.
And we mentioned in the last pick and ban phase, Jensen has had stellar performances on the champion so far this split. Bjergsen just had a perfect game on it in game 1 in this series. Both mid laners would love to see that happen. It's going to be Jensen, the one who gets to play it this time around. Gragas also locked in on the side of C9. Very nice flex pick. Could play at jungle, could play at top. Always keeps your opponents guessing.
Yeah, it changes the second phase of bans when you do have something that can flex like that. TSM, even though they have the Corki, is now totally a mid lane pick. That's going to be what they're throwing up against the Orianna. They do not want to give C9 the ability to ban even more things that Orianna could be good against, so you can understand that pick. And then also the Elise, even with Lee Sin up, that's how much they want to deny it from contracts.
Well, TSM's saying, all right, you steal our mid laner, we're going to steal your jungler. Steal for steal. As Corki is locked in against that Orianna, like you said. Corki's been seeing some more play recently. Ever since they changed his auto attacks to be 80% magic damage, he's seen a bit of a resurgence.
Yeah, it's peculiar in some cases, but I do think it definitely benefits him since he can very clearly go magic resist builds. I think Corki has traditionally been one of the things you pick into Orianna because you can sustain some traits, but I've really seen this matchup go either way.
Braum going to be the final pick of the first part of the draft here for Cloud9, grabbing that support role nice and early. They see that their opponents have plenty of range damage. That shield will do a lot of work blocking that off, keeping the team nice and safe. You see Braum with a 52.6% win rate, so just a little bit positive there.
10 and 9 in the LCS, and this is really when we're going to get to see the target bans come through.
Yep.
There's a support picked by C9, so they're getting rid of other supports. They're going to pick their marksman when they may, and they're just, at least for TSM standpoint, saying we don't want Ray to be able to take over the game on Fiora. Pretty generic ban there. TSM doesn't actually seem to have too much of a goal with what they want to do there. Yeah,
Fiora is a really strong champ. Ray is a very strong carry top player. Makes sense to ban that one away. Taking Thresh away from Biofrost as well, stopping some of that playmaking potential from the side of Cloud9's bans. And they're getting rid of Tahm Kench. The thing that TSM was happy to pick last time, they can't this time.
Yeah, so I think that gets rid of a lot of Biofrost's more favorable picks. Braum, Thresh, Tahm Kench off the table. The shielders are not nearly as good as they have been in the Lulu and the Karma. There's still the potential for a playmaking Bard or a Rakan, but that is a much different look than something that can be a pseudo frontliner like a Braum or a Tahm Kench.
Yeah, Rakan, the last remaining champion that he's got a few games on there, other than the Lulu, which, like you said, is much weaker now than it had been in the past. Gnar banned away from TSM, as they really want to keep Ray off of those types of champions.
Yeah, Gnar hasn't even gotten that second suite of buffs on patch 7.12. That will be on patch 7.13. Still respected from Ray, though.
Sneaky contemplating the Varus here. Looks like they're just going to be going with that. Yeah, that's what they're thinking about. Nope. All right, Tristana locked in for Cloud9.
Yeah, and here, Ray's got something that he's confident with against Renekton. It has to be, because they're almost daring TSM to take it here and force Haunter to play around that style.
Could it be the Mordekaiser?
It could be.
We've seen Mordekaiser picked 3 different times in pro play, and I believe 2 of those times it was picked as a direct counter to Renekton. And by the way, we were talking about this in the office the other day, me and Freak, where Mordekaiser is one of the only champions in pro play picked in top lane more than once that's undefeated.
True. It's against Kled if he decides to go it, so I think it's a little bit more unlikely. They could also go Gragas up there and just throw Contracts onto Lee Sin and have a standard team fight team.
Okay.
Or the big J4.
Very
something
popular
Ray
right
has
now.
always excelled at.
Yeah. Even when nobody else was playing J4, Ray was playing J4. Now that it's one of the better top laners in the game, also very, very strong with the Locket and Stoneplank combination, it's practically inviting him to lock it in.
Yeah, I think it's the strongest pick C9 can go with, actually, especially considering the synergy between Orianna and Jarvan as the ultimate delivery system. C9 actually a tremendously strong team-fighting team composition. I think they would be very favored in 5v5s and even gold.
Ray on the Jarvan versus Haunter on the Kled. Haunter got bullied around and sort of smacked down in the last game by the Renekton. We'll have to see if he can get out of laning phase a little bit better off this time around. But bottom lane, Jhin Zyra for TSM. That one can be really impressive.
Yeah, it absolutely can be, as long as they're not getting picked off by any of the tremendously strong gank threats that C9 have. The teleporting Jarvan from the top lane or the ganking Gragas can provide a ton of pressure, and Braum is great gank assist. So I think that's where C9 is going to try and get their pressure in the bottom lane and desperately try to avoid being pushed in like they were last game.
Launching into game number 2 now. You can see the matchups there on your screen. A couple of capable fighters there in the top lane. The Elise, again, made so many plays last game when Contract was piloting it. We'll have to see if Svenskeren can have the same kind of a presence here in game number 2, going up against Contracts on the Gragas. Meanwhile, Jensen will get to show us what his Orianna is made of. And if it's half as impressive as Bjergsen's was in game number 1, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, well, we know Jensen's Orianna is absolutely insane. Just looking at his stats on the year, an 8.8 KDA, 5-2 record, and this is from a team that hasn't been winning a huge percentage of their games, but it's definitely been the standout champion for Jensen.
Also want to point out, Jensen going with the cleanse this game, which isn't going to be particularly useful in the lane matchup against Bjergsen, but it is very useful to get away from lockups that come out from Biofrost or from Svenskeren.
Yep. It's useful in the lane, so to speak, when he is getting 2v1.
Exactly.
By the Elise. So safety there instead of going with Ghost for a slightly better teamfight presence. He really wants the security of the cleanse for the Cocoon.
And one thing to point out, too, about Bjergsen on this Corki, because of Corki's big range when he picks up the package, it is one way to viably run 2 exhausts on your team, which you see them doing this game. Neither support opting for the Ignite this time around. Both want to go for the exhaust to shut down the divers, keep the carries safe.
Yeah, at least for someone like Ray, you do want double exhaust against that Jarvan. He's going heavy AD at least early on in the game. Very interested to see how that top lane plays out in this game, since both junglers have very potent gank threats early on, and it can be quite swingy since both these guys like building fairly offensive. And even though Haunter lost the lane last game, he still turned on very well in teamfights. So I'm curious to see if TSM even prioritizes that farm up there, or if they think they get enough late game utility out of a slightly underfarmed Kled.
Haunter's also not under nearly as much insta-gib threat against Gragas and Jarvan as he was against Renekton and Elise.
We got to watch this, though, because there have been a sneaky Braum and Trist in the brush. They're not going to interrupt the Raptors, but they are running down to double from Biofrost. I feel like they're just going to end up doing a whole lot of nothing because the minions are too big there, but interesting start.
Yeah, they could have potentially tried to make something happen, but instead they'll just wander their way into lane, go back to farming like normal. They don't end up actually missing out on any farm whatsoever, so it's just a slightly delayed beginning for them.
Yeah, I thought they were going to harass Svenskeren on Raptors and really disrupt his early jungle, but they opt not to. But even in doing that, they're allowing Doublets and Biofrost to get the early shove on the lane, so kind of instantly on the back foot.
And you know, going back to a time when Zyra was #1 pick ban for supports in the meta, it became this thing where you always wanted to contest her early on at level 1 so she couldn't get the seeds down, take control of the lane early. And with Double Lift and Biofrost not having that contest in the lane at that point, you can see how they've taken over.
Yeah, definitely hurts the laning phase here from Sneaky and Smoothie, giving the early shove to Double Lift and Biofrost. Contracts would have a path that can make it down there, but Svenskeren beats him to the spot and can probably just ward up the approach.
Svenskeren moving into enemy territory now. You can see the On My Way ping coming out towards the blue buff of Contracts. Might look to set up shop here. He will find Contracts, who body slams his way out of the way of that one. Svenskeren is low on mana and has no blue buff, by the way.
Yeah, he has skipped his blue. He's doing Raptors to red to enemy blue route, hoping the Contracts had slowed down and taken his Krugs. Ends up colliding with him, but they do have the push in both mid and bottom lanes. So they're actually going for a very early blue buff contest.
They're bringing Bjergsen over as well, who's going to drag Jensen with him.
Three
coming in to try to
spawn.
stop this. The plants are there and putting a lot of pain into Smoothie. The blue buff going to go ahead, run out of patience, walk his way back to his spawn point. Smoothie's so low now, Cloud9's got to be careful about wanting to fight this.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it's going to be a smite fight. If Contract sticks around and TSM doesn't push through on them. Sneaky getting the shove in the lane right now, but TSM has them outnumbered in the jungle. They get the blue.
And Scarin with a very nice secure, making sure that they don't spend all that time for nothing. Grabbing that for himself means his mana is going to start to regenerate very rapidly, and he'll continue just moving around, farming up, finding the cocoon now onto Contract. Smoothie, getting the winner's bite down. Exhaust going to be used too. Scarin potentially in some trouble here. Going to be repelling up into the air, flashing up the wall, staying safe for now. Smoothie barely getting away. Deadly Flourish, no mark. Ray and Haunser have made their way into the fights, but Haunser finds himself now in a 2v1, forced to flash over the wall, but Ray follows. Flag and drag, seeing if he can bring him down. Jensen still looking to chase if they can. Scarin is there trying to keep the protection on. Biofrost coming in too. Deadly Flourish out. Jensen and Ray both having a flash over the wall. What an absolute mess so far, and no one dies.
When your jungler wants to steal blue, things that can happen. Oh my goodness, everyone is brought into that fight trying to help out each other. And what's funny is when you walk away from it all, no advantage is really meaningfully gained. The wave is going to crash in the top side, so Ray actually loses out, I think, more than anyone because Haunser stuck around a little bit to get that wave shoving. Everyone else has even farm.
Yeah, farms even. Cloud9 did expend more summoner spells, though. They expended their mid laner flash, they expended their support flash, they expended their 80 carry heal, and look at that. Exactly what you said from game number 1. We've seen this be 50-50 before. The fans heard and answered.
Unreal. Flip a coin for the fan vote. Yeah, TSM did look stronger in that first game, but C9, I really like their team composition in this game if they can execute on these plays. Losing the pressure in the top lane a little bit early and also losing their blue buff to Contracts does hurt their early game.
Triss jump channeled exactly the way he needed to channel it to make sure that even though he was stunned, he still got to jump his way out of the danger. So Biofrost and Doublelift not quite able to find the punish they wanted there. Keep in mind, Sneaky does still have his flash, but not the heal.
And Biofrost and Doublelift have yet to buy. Smoothie did go back to base to pick up an extra health crystal of combat stats. Starting to open up a big CS lead, though. That's 14 CS for Doublelift over Sneaky.
And Doublelift won the CS battle pretty hard last game, too. He had a 25 CS lead by 10 minutes or something along those lines compared to the Callista from Sneaky. And if he's able to do that every single game with this Jhin and just farm up to the point where you can start hitting those massive crits, that's a problem for Cloud9 because they were not able to address him. Meanwhile, Ray showing us why he's a Jarvan player, why he's a Jarvan picker. Keeping this lane shoved up in the top side. A very, very slight CS lead for him. The Haunser, again, just not able to have a whole lot of lane presence on this Kled.
Yeah, and look at Scarin trying to live in the enemy jungle here, not letting Contracts become involved in the game. He's got a level on him. Decides to back out, but they do spot Contracts. So having total vision over the Gragas is at least allowing their bottom lane to try and maintain that CS lead.
Bjergsen versus Jensen. Keeping an eye on this one, too. Jensen staying ever so slightly ahead in farm, but now Ray
already dismounted.
Looking to make those moves onto Haunser, trying to find some damage, but recognizing that Haunser may remount very quickly. Jensen trying to get himself away from this one, sidesteps the cocoon, barely avoiding the maximum range. And that is what he needs to do to get away from these types of plays. Popping the cleanse, keeping himself safe, does not give away a free kill. Still no first blood, 7 minutes in.
Yeah, very close laning phases in the other lanes that we're talking about, mid lane and top. And Contracts just now getting a little bit of revenge here. Perfect timing on the red buff respawn. Reading Scarin's early jungle route, knowing he invaded with red and nothing else, meaning he started Raptors to red. Good timing. Likewise, Scarin pulling the same trick on Contracts.
Yep. Contracts saying, you know what, if Scarin's constantly trying to scare me away, constantly trying to fight me on a very dueling-capable champion, I'm just going to steal whatever he steals and avoid the problem. Wise coming from him. Good job reading the opponent. Still a 400 gold lead for TSM, thanks to the farm leads that they have, mostly there in bottom lane, like we were talking about earlier. Neither jungler really able to get on the board just yet. You can see a little bit of vision placed down by Contracts in enemy territory as he made his way out from stealing that red buff. Infernal Drake is the first Drake on the board this game, too. And a lot of times, Jat, you don't see first Drakes be taken till later on in the game, like around the 15-minute mark. Infernal is the one that is commonly the exception to that rule.
Oh, man.
As now they're able to find the catch here on the Biofrost. The CC and the damage coming out. The flash does not succeed initially. Still able to keep him alive for now. Bio walks away, and Smoothie is ultimately punished. First blood for Bjergsen.
Oh my goodness, that hurts for C9. They thought they had the damage, but it's just a Gragas and a Braum. Biofrost also consistently getting off these 2 and 3 plant spawns in the jungle fights, which is turning so much damage. Baited by the control ward with no vision in the river, and C9 land both of their CCs. Post-flash, though, they can't get in range to auto-attack. Gets that E off. It is just 1 plant, but then 2 more spawn afterwards. Allows Bjergsen to collapse down as well, since it was on TSM's side of the map.
And Bjergsen's got to be really happy about that one too, because that is an early but yet successful package delivery. You almost never get to see the early packages be useful for anything. A lot of the time they just get shot off in the jungle and don't accomplish a whole lot. But being able to use one of those to actually make a play comes through pretty big.
Yeah, you got to be really careful when the package comes out as well. So that's actually pretty bad timing for C9 to make that invade. Oftentimes, when we first saw Corki, you actually tried to invade the enemy jungler with package right away because it's such a power spike at that moment. That was kind of the ideal play. So C9 did leave that opportunity open for TSM.
Now TSM going for that Infernal Drake. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the one that teams will go for pre-10 minutes. And TSM will not be making an exception to that rule this game, grabbing themselves extra damage, especially with Jhin and Zyra on your team. That's going to be ferocious later on.
Yeah, it is far and away the best Drake for Jhin in particular. He has so much AD scaling in his kit. He actually scales more multiplicity with Infernal Drake than any other champion in the game. So I'm going to be very happy about that if you're TSM. Not to mention, everyone on that team will be building AP or AD, which is also rare.
You've got a bruiser top laner, you've got a bruiser jungler, you've got an AP support. Everybody's getting their worth out of that one. Bjergsen now going to be caught out because the same thing that happened to Jensen last game happened to him now. Very, very close, but he still walks away. Oh, a flash into the auto attack, and Jensen returns the favor from game number 1. Anything you can do, I can do better.
Bjergsen with the greed right there. Jensen gets the proc at the very last. Auto attack follows Bjergsen through flash, and he just had to back away with that minion. Watching it one more time. Doesn't land Frost Bomb. Jensen goes, gets Shockwave, still weaving in the auto attacks. Gets him very low, and then Jensen right here. Bjergsen wants that 1 minion, but he's in flash range. Flash QW because the ball then follows him since he had it on his head. Disrespect by Bjergsen, gets punished.
Bjergsen now 1-1 on that Corki, 10 CS behind his opponent. Morello Namicon completed for Jensen, means he's going to be exactly where he wants to be on this Ori. Mana regeneration, ability power, cooldowns, all that good stuff. As Sven and Hanser move themselves up topside, looking to take down the turret first blood, but Cloud9 has plans of their own here in the bottom part of the map. Contracts over the wall, looking to come in, trying to find the cask on the double lift, flashes away to get himself to safety, and now they might be able to repel this attack. Curtain Call opens up, Ray trying to make his way into the fight. Hanser's already there though too. The flag and drag not going to accomplish a whole lot just yet. Hanser still kept alive for now. Root comes out, only finding its way onto Smoothie. TSM happy with repelling this attack for the time being, but now they might be in some trouble. Biofrost going to be taken low. Here comes the pit, and they are stuck. 2 kills the way of Cloud9, a double for Ray.
And even if it feels like you're winning the 3v4, you have to remember it is a 3 versus 4.
You don't chase it.
You don't chase it. They repelled them from the turret, and Svenskaren's solo push to the top lane is not good. C9 pounce exactly when they need to return, as TSM was chasing out. They get what they wanted eventually with that TP play.
Bjergsen gets greedy, then the rest of the team gets greedy. TSM has got to be careful with these deadly sins this time around because they are getting punished time and again.
Yeah, greed once again. The initial dive was guarded very well against. At least it's in the top lane, so C9 know they can go. Double the flashes doesn't get instantly killed, and Biofrost doesn't get hit by the Smoothie Q, so they're fine. And then the ultimate opens up, they're thinking, even better, now we can poke them down and save our turret for sure. And you didn't get Ray, you got his flash. It's time to stop. The flash wasn't burned by Contract's Gragas, and Ray's cooldowns will come back up. Rocket jump slows him. Ray gets his ultimate up, doesn't even need his EQ, and they get 2 quick kills in that Cataclysm.
TSM so overzealous going in after that one, especially when Biofrost doesn't even have his ultimate. I mean, he's still level 5. There were no Stranglethorns involved in that fight. Have to wonder how much these guys are going to be looking to go for as Biofrost finding the catch here onto Sneaky, but the damage there isn't quite enough to really pose a threat on him, not with Smoothie nearby. 1 turret to 1 overall, 20.2 to 20.2 thousand gold. These teams, again, just blow for blow. Even though Cloud9 has got that kill advantage, it's TSM with a massive farm lead there in the top lane, even though they're falling behind a bit in the other two.
Yeah, Ray has had larger impact with these teleports in, but still down about 200 gold on account of the farm. Still such a neck-and-neck game. Something that's biting TSM a little bit is Biofrost being under-leveled. As you mentioned, he was level 5, 13 minutes into the game as a support that is already often focused against so much initiation from Cloud9. He has to play so carefully for the duration of this game, but as you say, still anyone's game at this stage.
Oh, absolutely. Trinity Force now completed onto Bjergsen, and with another package coming up soon, you can also see it armed on him right now. He will be ready to make a big play if given the opportunity. This goes back to what you mentioned earlier, Jat. As Cloud9, you've got to make sure that you're not getting greedy now. You've got to make sure you're playing around that package, staying safe, not giving Bjergsen the chance to use it so effectively again.
And you can really see C9 trying to set up around this top side, accidentally double control warding the brush in the wave. And Contracts wants to get something. It was warded out by TSM, though.
TSM still looking to see if maybe they can get something out of that Corki package, but Cloud9 seems to have learned their lesson after the first time. Doublelift trying to clear away some wards top side, place some of his own, but 2 control wards will make sure that that doesn't happen anytime soon as Ray and Haunter will find each other here in the river. Haunter looking to go in on Ray, who misses his flag and drag. Now he's going to be chased down. The charge comes out. Another bear trap on a rope, going to be snapping him right back into place, and Bjergsen's there to pick up the kill.
A costly mistake by Ray right there. You can pull Jarvan out of his EQ combo with Bear Trap on a rope, but I don't think that's what happened there. I think Ray placed his flag into a wall, so it moved, and then his Q didn't connect. I think that's what happened in that misplay, but either way, it's an easy kill picked up by TSM.
Mechanical error that leads not only to a death, but now the summoning of the Rift Herald. TSM going to take a turret with this one. Haunter going to continue being able to push up. He's got his jungler on this bottom side of the map too, so he feels safe down here. Disaster for Cloud9.
Yeah, we're going to watch this one more time. Haunter obviously does have the level advantage and the CS advantage. Watching this.
Exactly what you said. He placed it on the wall and it went too far away.
And even then, Bear Trap on a rope could have pulled him back as well because of the timing of that EQ. So even if he would have connected it, there's a chance because of his timing he would have been knocked away. A lot of things going TSM's way here in the last few minutes.
Including a second Drake. Cloud Drake on this one. Looks like the third Drake of the game is also going to be Cloud, so no more Infernal spawning. So that's one thing that Cloud9 can be thankful for. Bjergsen and Jensen going at it, 1v1 yet again. Exhaust out, curtain call opened up. Jensen trying to flash away. Second shot hits, third shot hits, fourth shot hits! Doublelift securing the kill.
Woo, and those are dodgeable at this point. Jhin has been changed so the slow duration isn't as long, and Jensen also was in the aftermath of his cleanse for a short time, so could have potentially dodged those, but great aim by Doublelift to land 3 shots in a row and get the kill.
Doing mad work with those Jhin ultimate shots. It's such a fun ability to see used correctly because of the sheer amount of range and how much you have to predict your opponents. Especially now, like you said, how it's been fixed. You don't just hit them automatically because the guy's slowed. You still got to be able to properly predict those every single time. Doublelift deserving of that kill.
And now all outer turrets down for TSM, and they move into the jungle to get rid of some of C9's control wards. I mentioned that C9 has an incredibly strong team fighting composition. The Jarvan, as well as the Gragas and Braum to initiate and be a frontline, and tremendous backline damage dealers in the Orianna and the Trist. However, if TSM is getting these picks and landing these long-range skill shots, they can still prevent the team fights from happening. The first shot is flat. The next 3 land completely true. 555 damage crit to close that one up.
Oh, this is such a cool angle. Look at that. Kaboom. See ya. I love our camera angles.
Ooh, Jensen also gets hit by the last shot. We saw that from pretty much every constituent.
Yeah, Jensen, not as big of a fan of that final shot as the rest of us were, but now he's 1-1, Bjergsen 2-1. Very close contest between these mid laners again, and remember, these two are always in the conversation for top mid laner in NA. It's them and Froggen, the Danes. that are always putting up the numbers, always the ones just far outclassing everybody else in NA/LCS. So getting to watch two of them go head-to-head like this, it's always that question of which one of them is going to have the better performance this series, which one of them is going to make that defining factor that pulls their team out ahead.
Exactly, and Jensen needs to be able to dodge those skill shots in these moments to help take down TSM. If C9 lose this game, that would be a 4-0 game score for TSM over Cloud9 in this split, which would not bode well for playoffs. This week in particular is so important for both of these teams. TSM plays C9 today, Immortals tomorrow. Cloud9 plays TSM today, COG tomorrow. So the top of the table are facing off right away this week. And that dictates a lot of momentum moving into playoffs, even though it is still 5 to 6 weeks away.
And not even the momentum of just moving into playoffs, but even going on to that second game this week. If you have a demoralizing 0-2, that doesn't bode well for having to go up against an equally tough opponent in the next 24 hours. Cloud9 really wants to at least take this to all 3 games. This is a team that, remember, took TSM all the way in a best-of-5 in the spring split playoffs. It came down to a single team fight that they were unfortunately unable to execute on that gave the game over to TSM. You can't say TSM didn't earn it. They played the series very well. They played the game very well. But that moment has still got to be living in the minds of the Cloud9 players and the Cloud9 team. They want to get revenge for that one.
Exactly. Back-to-back final showdowns between Cloud9 and TSM. And Cloud9 has beaten TSM with some level of regularity in the regular season. Looking back to the spring split, C9 are the ones that started the split 8-0. Now in the summer, both teams did start off a little slowly, but it is now TSM on the 11-game, 4-match win streak. And looking to just continue on their performance. They're 1 game away from Immortals in the standings. If they would beat them tomorrow and beat C9 here, they would be #1 in the summer split as they move off to Rift Rivals, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Still 4,000 gold. C9 has plenty of playmaking opportunities and need to get themselves back into this game.
And one way to do it is what you were talking about in the draft, Jat. The wombo combo potential from Cloud9 as the curtain call opens up. Ray eats 3 shots. The 4th one coming through does get weaved right past Smoothie. Charge coming out, looking to make this fight happen if they can. Bjergsen with a delivery over the wall, but can they continue the fight? The shockwave comes through, not going to be finding anyone. Haunser dismounted. Bjergsen and the rest of TSM disengaging this one, not quite finding their mark.
Yeah, they might try and use this to get vision of the Baron area, though you can see some of the strength of the C9 frontline there. TSM, very difficult for them to get into that fight and stick. Not the same type of team fighting power TSM had in game 1.
Cloud9 still down 4,000 gold, still only have 1 turret, no Drakes, so they've got quite a few hills to climb over if they want to find a win in this one. But that wombo combo potential in a team fight, you just get one good fight where Ray traps a couple different people in that ultimate, throw a shockwave on top of it, you can still turn this. And if Sneaky can get to the point where he scales up to a high level, he's got plenty of attack range, he's got 3, maybe even 4 items under his belt, there's always that possibility to win a team fight.
Yeah, it feels like everyone's going with that Infinity Edge static shift rapid fire cannon build. And when you hit that on Trist, you are so powerful. And there's not many people on TSM that can build defensive. So Cataclysm into Shockwave at any point would be lethal.
Svenskeren finding out Ray.
He's out.
This Elise is actually higher level than the Jarvan and takes him down 1v1, just chases him.
Yeah, Ray didn't want to flash away because Svenskeren may have even been able to chase just with a simple repel, so really not a good game for Ray. That's the second almost just questionable death where he dies off on his own without much effort expended by TSM, and that's a killer for your map pressure in general and allows TSM to start taking over.
And this is a very different story from game number 1, as Sneaky might be caught out a little bit here. He seems to be okay, but recall back to game number 1, Impact bullying Haunser around. He was the one who was up 40 CS over his opponent. He was the one drastically winning the 1v1, but now in game 2, even the enemy jungler is 2 levels up on Ray, and he just has no presence.
Exactly, they even saved the last pick for the top laner. Had a chance to do Renekton versus Kled once again, which Impact was so good at, opted not to. Decided for the Jarvan for the teamfight presence, but he is never getting to teamfight. He is just getting pushed around in this side lane, 2 levels below Haunser and Svenskeren, and losing his turret, if not his life.
Haunser and Sven looking to make the play yet again, forcing the flash out this time That's why Ray saved it when he was being hunted down by Sven earlier. Sneaky walks up, doesn't care about a couple of turret shots, just trying to grab some objectives off to the side. Cloud9 not wanting to fight TSM mano a mano for the time being. Just looking to trade objectives wherever possible.
Yeah, 1-for-1 turret trade is actually not that bad for them. And if Ray can make a play after that,
grabbing the pick onto Bio.
They want more.
Here, but now Douglas been scaring backwards, seeing if maybe they can make some more happen. Blast Cone going to be getting him away. Ray still has the ulti, but they don't want to be going for anything else just yet. Ray might not be having the best game, but he's still got 3 out of 4 of Cloud9's kills.
he's always got that killer instinct.
Yeah.
He will make a play even when he is not having a good game. He's one of those players that just keeps on shooting. Have the word on Biofrost. Oh my god. That was Jensen. And Ray flashed over the wall. Or flashed for an auto attack, rather. He hit over wall and flashed to kill secure.
Ray secured the kill.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ray made sure. But Jensen was the one who did 95% of the work. 2 Cloud Drakes already under TSM's belt, and the next one spawning. Normally we make Cloud Drake memes and jokes and everything else, but with TSM having the lead that they have, getting 3 of those and that extra 75 movement speed out of combat means they'll be able to rotate through the Cloud9 jungle very quickly and really just take control of this match.
Yeah, I think the Cloud Drakes are much more valuable when you have a sense of reliable initiation, but TSM will still have to land a skill shot regardless of where they're going, so it's a little bit less value than, say, having a Malzahar just have to walk up and press R on someone.
Right.
So I definitely think they're not that happy with it, but every Drake is good to have.
Yeah, it's still going to be better than giving up the objective. Now Ray able to drop that zone. Can they get some more damage in? Haunter grabbed the kill onto Ray to start things off. Biofrost taken low, but Cloud9 in full retreat. Doublelift able to find a kill for himself off that 4th shot. Haunter looking to go on to Sneaky. Won't quite find that one just yet. Multiple blinking health bars on TSM and a big whiff on the Shockwave. Deadly Flourish sidestep. Sneaky still looking to fight if he can. But TSM will walk away with such critical health on their members, but no deaths is still fine.
Yeah, too many whiffs for C9 right there. Ray goes early, not in sync with the rest of the team. They do have a good team fighting composition, and they thought with Leanders and Morellonomicon it was time to fight. Ray, though, is spotted, decides he needs to go instead of disengage, but Jensen can't make it in time, and the rest of the team gets zoned by the Zyra Stranglethorns. Haunter then re-engages, the shot rings true onto Smoothie, and they pick up 2 before retreat.
And the exhaust that came out onto Ray in that fight from Biofrost, it happened as he was mid-jump for the Cataclysm. It stops that dunk from being a dunk. It's more like a gingerly half slam.
Gingerly layup?
Yeah, and it doesn't work. It doesn't do the damage that would have potentially resulted in deaths instead of blinking red health bars. Very good job coming out from Biofrost, making sure that he stopped that damage from coming through. That's why you have 2 exhausts on the team, so you can make the plays like that, and it brings TSM up to a 4,500 gold lead. 2 kills up now, finding some stuns and some damage out onto the enemy jungler, looking to take him down, but it's Sven, who's now having a lot of damage returned onto him. He's almost going to be taken down. Jensen grabbing the kill, and it's turned around by Cloud9.
Oh man. Just a slingshot of a health bar the Contracts has there. Gets the shield, the heal, as well as the Spirit Visage enhancing the Gragas passive. It looked like he was going to get bursted down, but they turned around and they actually turned straight for Baron. They still have Shockwave, they still have Cataclysm, and they know they're in a 4v5, so C9 trying to make a play.
Now they're starting things off, grabbing the kill onto Biofrost. It's a 5 versus 3 for Cloud9, and Sneaky is just zoning away the remaining members of TSM. Bjergsen coming into poke. We're going to see what he can do here. There is a lot of damage potential coming out from this Corky. Winter's Bite is laid down. Bjergsen's going to flash away, caught out, stunned up, brought down. Sneaky grabbing himself that kill as Cloud9 again says, leave us alone. We came for the Baron. They're going to be forced off of it for now. Haunter walking away. Bjergsen gives up his life, but they will stop the objective take. Sneaky over the wall. It's going to make Baron a little bit mad there.
And Doublelift held his curtain call that whole time, which is I think why C9 didn't want to restart the Baron again in a 5v2, but they still get so much off of that play, being able to turn around the aggression from Sven Skaren and then played around the Baron there pretty much perfectly, I'd have to say, peeling for the kills and actually hitting the shots. They landed the skill shots from Smoothie to secure the kills.
Cloud9 showing that they might be down, but down does not mean out. It ain't over till the Nexus explodes, and with plays like that, they can easily work their way back into the driver's seat of this game. They will need to shut down TSM's overall control of the game, which has not ceased since early on. TSM has always been the one making the decisions.
True, but they're at such a strong point right now, they should continue to force. The rapid-fire cannon being completed on a Sneaky makes him very strong. They are rushing this Baron.
Cloud9 trying to take it down as fast as they can. Smoothie going to be blocking off some of the damage. Baron taken down. Sneaky grabbed the kill, but it's Smoothie who's killed off first. Ray into the back line, now going to be collapsed on by the rest of the team. Cloud9 looking to get away if they can. Jensen trying to port back if he can do it. Spin Scarin trying to go in, almost going to be brought down. Haunter looking to chase these guys, but he's all alone behind enemy lines. Dismounted, brought low. Jensen going to be taken low as well, but Sneaky grabbed the killing spree onto Haunter. Cloud9 still retreating. It's a 1-for-1 so far. Support for enemy top laner. They grab the objective and they get the favorable trade.
And it looks like the communication finally synced up there for C9. They secured the Baron, Smoothie fell, Ray EQ'd in, and then held his Cataclysm. He retreated and used it to buy time, and the rest of the team kited back as Haunter chased to pick up one more kill.
Oh my goodness, Sneaky on a rampage. Special delivery.
That's a lot of damage coming through. Static Shiv, Rapid Fire Cannon, Tristana onto the very squishy Zyra. Not only do they get the Baron, they pick up the kill advantage on the backside, and Drake is still up.
Cloud9 has just completely brought themselves back into this game, Chad. This was a team that played the first 25 minutes on the back foot. They waited, they scaled, now they're in a position of power. They've nearly tied the gold up. They're pushing down the mid lane. They've got the 5 versus 4 advantage for the next few seconds, so they'll take down this tier 2. They are looking good.
They just have so many tools now that they are knocked down in gold, and they are willing to force these 5 versus 5s. Ray's Jarvan, Smoothie's Braum, but also the scaling of the Trist at this point to activate the Braum passive and the ever-present threat of Jensen's Shockwave, which is a tool TSM had last game. They want to keep going.
This tier 2 is not going to be stopping them today, bringing it down low, and look at how much damage Sneaky does to these turrets. This is the strength of the Trist. It's kind of like a Caitlyn in that item scaling you were talking about. You hit 3 items, and all of a sudden it goes from, okay, Trist is sort of an issue, to Trist is a problem.
Yeah, first gold lead C9 has had, as far as I can remember this game, so they have absolutely activated, and TSM is reeling. They have to find a way to recover and find their space in this game, but they haven't necessarily hit those points. They don't have the stone plate on his plate, and they don't have the stickiness in these team fights.
Monster trying to take down this Cloud Drake, make sure that TSM maintains that advantage. Oh my goodness, no way! Spin Scarin now in some trouble, having to rappel down, trying to get himself away from this one. Ray coming in the back line, and TSM is in some trouble. Ray creates the pit, and now they're going to be routing TSM. 2 dead, Bjergsen included. It's a 5-man push from Cloud9.
Murphy's Law was in full effect here for TSM. It just fell apart. Everything that could go wrong did. They lose the Baron. Hunter dismounts on the Drake, and Sneaky comes in the last hit it. This, even though the gold is only 1,000, almost feels like it's all but over. The momentum is so heavily in C9's favor. Baron up, 3v5 now. They're going for a push.
Cloud9 pushing down the mid lane, 5 men strong. Bjergsen and Svenskeren not responding for another 15 seconds. TSM will not even bother trying to defend this one. Cloud9 will take first inhib 31 minutes in, pinging back into the enemy jungle, taking everything with them. It's going to be a scorched earth policy here in this jungle. Let's watch TSM leash the dragon one more time.
Hey, no one clears the little baby ward there, so they know that Svenskeren isn't in smite range. He comes around the way where he couldn't just jump in the back of the pit, and then Ray also lands his TP into a beautiful knockup and a 3-man trap in the Cataclysm. Forces double-list flashing heal, gets the kill on a Bjergsen and Svenskeren. That sets up the turret. This has been an absolute rampage.
Svenskeren? Whoops. Now you see him, now you don't. Cloud9 grabbing themselves kill number 12. That kind of trigger pull is exactly what's going to keep these pushes alive. The momentum for C9 has been unstoppable since they got that Baron buff, and it's not quitting anytime soon. Inhibitor turret number 2 going to be dropping now as the Baron power play of almost 6,000 gold has catapulted this team into a potential victory position. 2 inhibs down. Contract's not quite able to make the play he was looking for there onto double lift. Jurgen Double gonna have to pull out something crazy to make this defense happen here. Smoothie down below half HP, needing to be careful about being the front line that he wants to be. Sneaky, so strong.
Yep, Baron is down, so they're going to be a little careful, but there goes Ray.
Ray into the back line, looking to start this one off, finish this game if he can. The pit comes out, Ray now retreating, Nexus turret number 1 down. Sneaky putting those shots into number 2. Bjergsen coming in, trying to stop these guys if he can. Shot comes out. 4th shot making its way onto Smoothie, package delivery, but now Bjerg's gonna be in some trouble. Sneaky going point blank, takes him down, dominating for the AD carry, as now Haunter's gonna be dismounted. C9 looking to win this fight and win this game. A double kill for Sneaky. Looking to make it a triple. Biofrost gonna be taken down next. Sneaky still keeping himself away, shielded up, staying alive. Finn Scarin cannot do anything. Quadra kill for Sneaky. Can they get it? I don't even know if they care. The Nexus is the target. Doublelift will not give the Penta, but it does not matter. Cloud9 will take us to game 3.
Get him, Sneaky. Get him.
Go for it, go for it, go for it. No! There's a guy in the audience that I could see the visible anguish on his face as that Nexus exploded, and I feel you, guy in the audience. We all wanted to see that Penta.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so close. Doublelift even comes out of base. And that was like a 1/10 of a second away. But let's not have that take away from the surge that C9 made at the end of that game. They were down 5,000 gold at 22 minutes, and they won by 33.
That was so impressive from Cloud9. Staying patient, staying, I want to call it clean,
composed.
as they were waiting. Yeah, composed, that's the word I'm looking for. It was